Well, good evening and welcome to the Eastern Lake Regional Beach Access Public Workshop. I am Josh Irvin. I am your new Beach Operations Director, aka Sucker. I'm excited to be here tonight. Before we get started, I want to recognize a few people. We have Nancy Perret here with Beach Operations, Ryan Adams, and Stacy Enfinger. We also have Melinda Gates with Environmental Services. Commissioner Curry is also in attendance tonight, and also Stephen Schoen with the Walton County Planning Department. So kind of the order of business tonight, Ryan has prepared a small presentation to kind of go over the what, when, where, and how of this particular parcel that we're here to talk about. And then after that, we'll open it up to general conversation with you all. The purpose tonight is to just get input on what you want or perhaps what you do not want at this parcel in terms of development. A couple of orders of business before we get started. Bathrooms are out here to your right. When we do get to the public comment time, if you can please refrain from using your phone or being disrespectful toward each other. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but it's always a good reminder as we go into this. There will be a difference of opinion, I'm sure, and that's fine. That's what makes us a healthy society, and I'm glad that we can have that and be productive in that. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Ryan to get started here with this presentation.
Turn my mic on. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, good. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I know that everybody has a lot to say about this, so this presentation is going to take about 5 minutes, and then we're going to turn the floor over to the public for open comment. So appreciate everyone's time. Go ahead and jump right in with the first slide. So before we get into the project-specific details, we just wanted to give a brief history on the county and the tourism department's investment in the Eastern Lake area up to today. So we'll start with the Eastern Lake Municipal Parking Lot. This parking lot holds 16 spots for standard vehicles and 18 spots for low-speed vehicles. The parcels were purchased in 2019. Lots were demoed in 2020. Design was approved in 2021 for the parking lot, and construction started in December of 2022. So in 2021, the county purchased the San Roy Road parcel that parcel is 2.73 acres, and it extended our beachfront at the Eastern Lake Beach access to 420 feet. So at the meeting when the approval was made to purchase the property, there was discussion at the dais about development of a regional beach access. And also there's language written into the resolution that is attached to that contract pertaining to beach facilities. So we think the idea of a regional beach access at Eastern Lake dates all the way back to 2021. Which brings us to where we're at today. Our proposed project scope includes sidewalks for pedestrian safety, a turnaround for vehicles and emergency services, ADA compliant dune walkover, handicap parking, restrooms, showers, low-speed vehicle parking, bicycle parking, and drainage improvements. All these, this project is funded through the tourism bed tax. In 2021, the county invested $9.5 million of the tourism dollars into the property acquisition. Design was funded in fiscal year 25 at $500,000, and construction was funded in the BCC budget for this fiscal year at $3.75 million. So this project is broken up into a two-phase plan. Phase A is the regional beach access improvements. That includes the restroom facilities, the boardwalk or dune walkovers, shower area improvements, low-speed vehicle and bicycle parking, handicap parking, and a turnaround at the end of San Roy Road. Phase B is the right-of-way improvements. This includes sidewalk on Eastern Lake Drive, San Roy Road, and some miscellaneous drainage improvements. The idea was to design them together, and then we would evaluate the construction cost and determine if the projects could be constructed as one project or broken up into separate projects. So we've assembled a great project team for the design effort. They have experience working in Walton County. This is the same team that worked in the Eastern Lake Municipal Parking Lot project, and we feel very confident in their ability to deliver a successful project. Half Associates is going to take the project lead. They'll be doing site layout, roadway, and drainage. Lewis and Whitlock will be handling structure, mechanical, and plumbing. Southeastern Survey will be doing the survey and mapping, and Ecological Resource Consultants will support with environmental and permitting. So once again, this is the same team that worked on the Eastern Lake project, and I believe that they're uniquely qualified to deliver a successful design project at Eastern Lake. So the first step in the design development process is conceptual design development. That begins with a survey. Survey effort will include boundary, topo, and right-of-way. And then we'll move into environmental analysis and property assessment. After we've completed our assessments, we'll develop some concepts and layouts. And then we'll hold another public meeting, present those concepts and layouts to the public for feedback and public comment. And then after the workshop, we would then take our conceptual design and a preferred alternative to BCC for final approval and direction on a path moving forward for the project. Next slide is kind of a big picture cradle to grave schedule. If this project were to continue to move forward, we would start with the survey and mapping, spring of 2026, followed by the environmental and property analysis. And then in the summer of 2026, we would move into conceptual design development. And we'd also hold the public meeting and take the conceptual designs to BCC for approval in the summer of 2026. If it moved forward past that public meeting and BCC review, we would go to final plans development in fall of 2026, permitting and our development order in winter of 2026, and then we would go to construction procurement in the summer of 2027 with construction scheduled to start in fall of 2027. And depending on if we constructed phase A and B together or separately, construction could take a year to 2 years. I mean, that would all be determined down the road. Permitting authorities for the project is the DEP for the Coastal Construction Control Line permit, Florida Fish and Wildlife for the Chockahatchee Beach Mouse, and the Planning Department would be issuing the development order. So these are all pretty standard permits for any development of any beachfront property in Walton County. There's been a lot of discussion about beach activities. So we just wanted to put this slide in here to assure you guys that, the current policy is no vending at the beach, no public driving on the beach. The tourism department does not regulate these activities, but we are not requesting or recommending any changes to current BCC policy in regards to the commercial activities and the driving. If we did move forward with a regional beach access, we would have a lifeguard at the beach. So getting to the end of our presentation, I just wanted to wrap it up with our mission statement. I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically the mission of the tourism department is to market and advertise the beaches, enhance the beach visitor experience, develop infrastructure, and promote safety. We feel like the development of a regional beach access at Eastern Lake aligns with this mission of the tourism department, and feel like it's a good project. Look forward to hearing your feedback on it, and certainly would like your support. So appreciate your time and attention listening to the presentation. Here's some contact information if you want to email the Tourism Beach Operations Department. If you have a question about this project or any other project, you can email projects@wcfltourism.com. You can also visit our website at www.waltoncountyfltourism.com. So I'm going to turn it back over to Josh for a brief comment, and then we'll open the floor for public comments. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ron, for that presentation. Just as a reminder, what we have tonight here is just an idea. It's not even a concept at this particular point. We want to hear from you all before we go back to the BCC. And if the general idea tonight is that we do nothing, then we'll bring that back. If there are some desires to do something, we'll certainly bring back whatever that is. But I just wanted to remind everyone tonight, we're here with an idea going back to 2021 when this property was purchased for the first time of a regional beach access. What that looks like to be determined. I've got a lot of questions about what size bathhouse, where would the bathhouse go, dune walkover, so forth and so on. And the short answer to those questions is that we really don't know until we get into the conceptual phase where we have some better surveying and better understand where those buffers are that we have to be outside of. But tonight we're here with kind of our idea, and then also here to get input from you all individually. So as we solicit this input tonight, what I'm going to request is that each of you speak into the microphone so that we can hear that clearly, and then also those that may be watching this from afar can also hear that. And if you will speak your name, that would be helpful as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the audience. So do we have anyone that would like to speak? Okay. And I'll bring it to you. And if for some reason you all do not want to speak tonight, we do have comment cards. Feel free to leave your comments on those. We'll be sure to include those in the record.
Thank you for having this and for getting community input. I would just hope that we don't spend any more money after tonight. We don't need to spend money if this group of people is not in support of it. I just hate to see money wasted. And I want to thank Dan Curry for being here. He's the only commissioner here. I don't know if there's a rule that only one can come, but I certainly appreciate his support. I was a commissioner when the Bill Head property came up, and I found that property and solicited the commissioners to buy that property. It was a neighborhood plan. It was a neighborhood access. Where it got to be even looked at as a regional access is just bad. So we want to keep it a neighborhood plan. We appreciate the effort that's gone into this, but we don't want it. Who's next?
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, my name's Jim Parker. I live on the lake, and frankly, had I known that anybody was going to consider doing this, if I had known anybody was going to consider doing this, I'd have bought the place myself. I'd have no interest in it being some kind of regional access. The comments that I heard you make was this permitting process is just like any other beachfront development. This isn't like any other beachfront. This is an outfall for a coastal dune lake. It controls the whole ecology for that lake and all the people that live around it. It already gets randomly attacked with Bubba and his backhoe coming out and dumping it on random occasions. So we can't keep up with how the water levels are going to be. It'll take care of itself if you leave it alone. And, you've already gone down. You got 3 flag poles down through there. The furthest east flagpole, you got a parking spot over there. You've had that on your plan saying you were going to do it for the past 5 years. And you've already done the first 2 phases of it. So why don't you just go over there and do phase 3? You got plenty of public beach down through there to work with. And you're not impacting the ecology of a coastal dune lake.
Garrett Horn. Our family has had a place on Eastern Lake since 1959. That's our home. When the county purchased this parcel in 2021, it was a protective move. It was done to prevent development. It seems very ironic and extremely troubling that now this parcel needs to be protected from being developed by our own county. This parcel has been a functioning neighborhood beach access since probably the late 1800s, well before the term beach access was ever invented. Access to this location hasn't changed in all those years, and making it into a regional access won't enhance this place, but only degrade it. Stormwater runoff, erosion, and the proliferation of vendors are just a few ways this beautiful, unique place would be degraded if this project is allowed to move forward. Beach Operations has done some great work in building beach accesses on straight stretches of the coastline. But it should never be in the business of trying to build structures surrounding a coastal dune lake outfall. Never. The aerial photograph you have presented in front of us with the map overlay and the straight lines is just a representation of one moment in time, taken maybe in 2022 or 2024. But the story on the ground in this very special place is vastly different. It is a constantly changing environment that is the essence of a coastal dune lake outfall. Sometimes this place is a lake, sometimes this place is a river, and sometimes this place is a catch basin for storm surge. Mother Nature controls the coast. Common sense tells you this is no place for bathrooms. This is no place for pavement. Common sense tells you this is no place for vendors. Preservation of our natural resource is a key to sustaining tourism in this county. Preserve Eastern Lake Inlet. My wife's showing a few photos of the way this lake looks at various times. And everybody knows that sometimes it's a lake, sometimes it's a river. It's just not a place for bathrooms.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you guys for putting this on. My name's Mark Scott. We met a couple weeks ago and we kind of went through and expressed, Garrett and I did, our viewpoints, which were pretty much, we didn't want anything to happen. We wanted to preserve it exactly like it was. And they made the comments, and I'm glad they did, that that's interesting, and if we find that that's a possibility, we might not do anything. But I also got the impression they kind of said, well, you live on the lake and you represent your neighborhood, but we also have to look out for the county. We have to look out for the visitors. And so one of the things we did, we put up on change.org, we put up a petition on change.org to see if we were speaking for the, just the 100 neighbors there or whatever, or the rest, because everybody I spoke with prior to that loved the way it is. We live there every day. We live there full time, so we talk to the visitors. We talk to the people going across the lake, walking across, wading across. They love it. They bring their kids, and we've seen generation after generation. So I've already talked too long, so let me just try and summarize what happened with the petition. What we did find out that as of about an hour ago, and when I checked, we had 740 Walton County residents that signed the petition. So speaking for Walton County, and I'll tell you and summarize what the petition says. Another 230 people from Panama City over to Fort Walton. So again, people in the area. And then an additional 200 plus people, which are traditional visitors areas, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Tennessee, and Texas, 200 people from there. And in total, we had 1,587 signatures. We had 40 plus states, actually, some other people that were in, that knew the area. What the petition said was, and this is summarizing it, keep the area a neighborhood access, prohibit it from becoming a regional access. No vending of any kind, no new construction in the parcel. Access should only be by pedestrian and boat, and a periodic opening should continue. And this is all the signatures, petitions, again, almost 1,600 signatures. I would like to, hopefully since these 1,600, if I could just read 3 or 4 comments from that I thought were good, because every single comment was for basically doing nothing. I live in Georgia, 6 hours away, but visit multiple times a year, and have for the past 45 years. My children and now my grandchildren can tell you the history of these lakes and the Grayton community. To even consider changing this natural landscape for future generations to appreciate is so mind-boggling. It defies logic. Hopefully there's a common sense governance greater than the leaders that are pushing the proposal. And I actually have the location where some of these people are. another one. The county motto is supposed to be pride. Right up there, it's pride, preservation, conservation. Destroying the dunes does not live up to our county motto. And here, these dunes are a huge part of the identity of this area. Developing this area isn't in the long run interest of the community, and impact will be irreparable. There is I want anybody watching this, but you guys as well, we did put up a website, saveeasternlake.com, with a video. There's a couple of videos which show the history, which I think is really compelling, and that's what happened with me when I went around and talked to some of these people that have lived here for decades. And I'll show you this picture too, but they showed me pictures of what this place used to look like decades ago, and this is just, it's a very simple one, but this is the outfall probably from the 60s and 70s, and it was just, you know, people riding horses, all these. If you haven't been to saveeasternlake.com, you should go there. And I made the comment in the video as well, one of the things that they wanted to do, the reason they're doing this is to make it more accessible or whatever is what they're hoping to do. And so here is the holiday people, the amount of people accessing it already. So my question kind of to the county is how much, you know, more accessible do we want it? And, you know, and we are not trying to, you know, the difference is I think the only objections I saw on the internet and all the comments, 90+% of them were do nothing, 95% on the other ones, 100% on ours. And the only comments that I think people thought is that we were trying to keep people from coming. And so their objections were kind of like, well, we should open the beach to everybody. And those are the main objections that I saw, and that was people that weren't understanding that we're not trying to block it. The people that oppose it aren't trying to block it. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the video as well.
So while we're having this discussion, I think it's important. I fielded this question earlier about regional beach access versus neighborhood beach access. We use that terminology just to kind of generalize the amenity that is there. There's no pure definition of either. Typically, a regional beach access, and the reason we call that is it's a much larger parcel size. It offers more amenities like bathhouses, parking spaces, things of that nature. But there is no pure definition of that. And so I think what I'm gathering tonight and what I'm hearing from you all tonight is that, you know, the bathhouse is certainly an issue. But I'm going to pose this question to you. Would a dune walkover and perhaps sidewalks and proper amenities or facilities for pedestrian access, is that off the table? Fair enough. So the question was, or the statement was, it depends on where you want to put it. And I think that is to be determined in a lot of cases. There is some road right-of-way there that starts off at, I think, 66 feet along Sandy Roy Road and then tapers down to 33 feet. It may actually be a little less than that in some cases. But those are all things that would have to be further analyzed. And, you know, through that engineering consultant contract task order is where that preliminary assessment would take place, along with some ideas in concept form that we could then further discuss. But so with an asterisk or a contingency of depends, is there an appetite to at least explore the opportunity for a dune walkover and maybe some proper, okay, okay, okay. Oh, yep, sorry.
Please state your name also.
Amelia Beard, I'm an attorney, and I have some clients that are opposing this project. So my question, when we're talking about this, and it was somewhat glazed over in the beginning, you mentioned San Roy Road and its right away, but what about Eastern Lake Road? The same thing with the acquisition timeline. It was talked about in San Roy. There was always regional beach access discussed, but what about with the Eastern Lake parcel? Because there's Eastern Lake Road and there's San Roy Road, and there's a lot of the same concerns. I think this room is full of people on both sides, but I think it's important, if the purpose of tonight, is to inform the public, is to differentiate what are you talking about, because it's two different parcels in a sense, and there's two different access questions, right? On what basis is the county relying on to get people there? So if we could try to differentiate that, I think it would help people understand what we're really proposing.
Sure. So the short answer to that is that you're exactly right. There are two separate parcels there. And I think what we are proposing as an idea is putting a bathhouse on either side of the outfall, and as such, improving accessibility to each one of those areas. So one on each side of the outfall. Correct. Yeah, let's.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Morano. In 2021, I stood up and I advocated with my fellow citizens that the county buy this land. I also advocated with them to stop vending. I live on Draper Lake. The coastal dune lakes, I don't have to tell you, are rare and authentic. And authentic is a word that our TDC needs to realize South Walton is authentic. I had the opportunity to take some of my friends from North Walton on a trip down to the Dune Lakes this past Sunday. My friends from North Walton were just surprised, in awe, impressed, and did not understand what a dune lake is. That's still the fault of the county. I'm going to go back to the county in a minute, but I do want to applaud Commissioner Curry, who did make a trip to the Dune Lake. And I personally made 2 trips to the Dune Lake, one with Commissioner Johns. I hope the commissioners who are listening to this video tonight, the other 3, make a trip to go down and see what Eastern Lake is all about. And thank you, Commissioner Cecilia Jones. I'm going to go back to a history that, okay, you're saying 2021, the commissioners thought they wanted regional access. Well, commissioners change. In 2018, 1,000 friends with South Walton Community Council and Jackie Markell sued the county because the county was not taking care of the coastal dune lakes. So I recommend that beach operations do their homework and look and see what was agreed on in 2018. And I also think the commissioners in 2025 are different from the commissioners in 2021 who thought it should be, quote unquote, a regional access. And I looked over what your consulting company proposed for almost $500,000, and it did not even include clear cutting. And their proposal, and I agree with you, Commissioner Cecilia Jones, we should not be spending any more money. That proposal was $451,000, and it did not even include building anything. And they very kindly said, we'll give you building support and we'll give you construction administration. So this project does not need to be spent a penny. These coastal dune lakes are rare. They are not man-made. They are not Disneyland-made. They are rare in this world. And nobody wants you to touch a piece of sand. And I think that's the message that everyone here, if I said raise your hands for everyone who does not want those dunes touched, can you raise your hand? I don't think you, thank you. I want every one of those people to speak so people can hear us on this video. But we don't want any sidewalks. We don't want any dune walkovers. We don't want a $500,000 study to tell you anything before you begin. And please excuse if I sound angry. It's really passion. And I have no anger with anyone from beach operations because you have 26 miles to walk that you have taken great conservatism with this. And by the way, the commissioners tomorrow are going to be talking about a conservation easement in North Walton. And that's to protect farmlands. And again, I hope they're listening tonight because we also need a conservation here in South Walton. And it means to protect Eastern Lake just as much as they're going to protect farmlands tomorrow. And I was also wanted to say planning, and we have a representative here in planning, they're looking at something called an evaluation and reassessment, and they're truly looking at how to protect our coastal dune lakes more.
Thank you, Ms. Morano. Please state your name and speak into the mic.
There you go.
Brenda Reese. I'm a resident of Eastern Lake and a native of Walton County. And I'm going to change what I was,
You want to sit here, right?
oh, sure, not really. All right. Commissioner,
Where's the gavel?
all right, here we go. Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Curry, thank y'all for being here. I'm Brenda Reese, R-E-E-S. I'm a resident of Eastern Lake. My dad built our first beach home in 1958 out of his grandfather's barn from Aliquot. And then was a native. I was born here in Defuniak, and I've changed what I was going to say, and I only have 3 minutes. I want to keep it short, but I always bring the Silic Classic SiO2 quartz sand rock with me. This is what our sand is. It's one of the most unique in the entire world, and it's one of the very reasons why our coastal dune lakes are so good about opening. It's because it's a little bit softer than CaCO3 or other things that they use in other places or have in other places. But I'm going to do a little history. I had this one, 10,000 years ago, the shoreline was 100 miles out, and it was receding at 24 centimeters every 100 years, and then it slowed down about 3,000 years ago, and that's what enabled our coastal dune lakes to become coastal dune lakes. All right, so that's that. If you haven't read up on the coastal dune lakes, and a lot of people haven't, 20 years ago, I was doing some substitute teaching, and I went to speak to the every science class in Freeport Elementary. And 20 years ago, not one child the entire day had ever even heard of a coastal dune lake. So we've really been working hard at this to tell the world, tell the United States, tell Florida, and tell Walton County that you have these precious coastal dune lakes. So I encourage everyone to go to the bookstores, and this is the Stoltz one that did the film and the book, and there are other very good ones, so that's excellent. This is what happened on Eastern Lake in 1903. William Wesley, who built the Wesley House in Eden State Gardens, he married Mickey Wesley, who was the 9th and youngest child of the Wesleys. He got in 1903 a 160-acre land grant at Eastern Lake. This is where they came to the beach. They would walk through those sand roads through the forest. So this has long been used by people of Walton County. In fact, in 1903, we were actually Washington County because Walton County was founded in 1824. And in 1825, South Walton left Walton County to be part of Washington County. And so this is the 200th year that South Walton would have been part of Washington County. So things change. Politics change, counties change, but the coastal dune lakes and how unique they are doesn't. So William Wesley wanted to call it Miramar, but it turns out that was sort of already taken. So this is from a 1931 map by the county. And on that 1931 map by the county, they don't even list beach funding or beach as a business. It's all about corn and cows and other farming. So 1931, it's not even, I have a larger copy of this map, and the county probably does. So things change. It's good that we have the beach and we are sustaining ourselves enough. We're not going to have that COVID 5 million tourists, $60 million. We'll be able to survive quite well, all the residents, the investors, and a clientele that we can manage so that we're not the 10th most dangerous roads in the country, which was front page news of the Northwest Florida Daily News at one point. And that's that. So it's on the front page. This is William Wesley after World War II. This is him walking to the beach. So we've walked through those dunes. People have walked through the dunes for hundreds of years. Even with a cane, it's okay. We've made it down. We don't need anything done. We want nothing. I want to say I am opposed to any development on the Eastern Lake Outfall and Beach. Nada, nothing. And so this is my dad in 1960 carrying my brother down to the beach. You know, one thing, people, if you don't take everything but the kitchen sink down there, it's easier to get to the beach. And that's it.
I need to stand. Okay, sorry. I don't love the microphone. Anyways, my name's Amanda Abbott, lifelong local here. Married to Sean Meredith. He's also been on Eastern Lake for a long time. Family's been here since the 60s, and we've been living on the lake since 2020. We both strongly oppose to the developments on Eastern Lake. You know, as we've all talked about how rare and beautiful they are, I think they're sacred, they need to be protected. It's just interesting sometimes that, you know, somebody can't tear down a dune to build a house even bigger and it's protected, and then we are trying to do, you know, exactly opposite of what we prevent others to do. So that just really doesn't make sense to me. You know, when, I know we've said it before, but when it's supposed to be about preservation and conservation, I think, you know, development's obviously happened here. We can't stop that entirely. But when you start like taking into what the real reason that people are actually here for, to enjoy, to experience, and you know, have memories for generations.
You can hold this if you want.
Okay. That's fine, I guess. All right, is that good? So I think when you're starting to take away what we, you know, all love about our area, that's when it actually has a worse long-term effect, even for tourism. I know a lot of these changes are, I guess I'm not going by this, but a lot of these changes are through the TDC pushing that. You know, I'm in an industry where it depends on tourism too, but I just think we have a very special, beautiful place, and, you know, 1 in 5 in the world, that it's just disheartening to have to like go against your own county to preserve something that should be a no-brainer. So one of the things too, I know, you know, some people that visit, they're like, wait, where do you go to the bathroom? Everyone that lives here knows how to figure it out and get to a house or somewhere to go. But I think that that could be a problem for some people, and I know it's going to keep kind of hitting a dead horse. So I'm kind of curious, like, is the Eastern Lake, the parking lot on Eastern Lake Road, I think, was a great addition to help get people to park and to be able to walk down. It's only, you know, less than a 5-minute walk, probably a 3-minute walk to get from that to the boardwalk that's already existing. So is there, a lot of those parking lots were already planned to have bathrooms at the parking lot. If that's an option, even if you have to get rid of, you know, 3 spaces to do that, I think that could be a good compromise. I think those are things that we need to talk about too, not just being opposed to it, which I am fully, but let's find a solution that's near there that could still solve a problem that people feel we have. So I think that's a good option. I think also, you know, Eastern Lake Boat Launch used to actually have more parking until the county kind of started taking it over. The fence went up around it, half the parking went away. So I think maybe developing that into a more beautiful park, having actual spaces there, even if you had to do a golf cart in season to help get people down to the beach where you're not actually damaging the dunes, damaging the, you know, natural reeds of the dune lake, creating so much of a cut in to the roads that have been there for so long, to where, you know, I know there's easements in place, but that affects a lot of the houses that have been there for years. So like maybe finding a solution that's a little bit further away but still makes it easier for people could be a good option. Having the bathroom directly on the dunes and, you know, right there on the beach, first of all, I don't like to look at bathrooms and parking lots when I'm trying to like take in the nature of the area. I don't know why I keep looking at you, sorry. Genders, you know, I don't know. But anyways, I think that like nobody actually understands the reality of that. It's like, okay, you're gonna be sitting on the beach and at this rare ecosystem and then seeing the pooper right there. Like I just, like even in Grayton, you know, I love Grayton too. I go to Grayton Beach just as much as I enjoy Eastern Lake. I run golf therapy on Western Lake, which is a nonprofit paddleboard group for mental health. And so the lakes, you know, literally have changed lives. I've seen it transform people's lives that were depressed and having challenges, and come twice a month to that group and all of a sudden have support in the community, have a family, have, an outlet that improves their mental and emotional and even physical health. So it's not just it's not just a standard beach, it's a different situation. But even with that, it took them years to get a bathroom. That land, the Welcome Center that's being developed was, sold and donated, not donated, but is because of somebody that also cares about the lake and is enabling that to happen. That could maybe be an option. Maybe there's a homeowner that comes twice a year and isn't using their home and would be open to maybe doing something a little bit set back to where that doesn't affect the actual dune structure itself and the ecosystem itself. But even that Welcome Center is way further back from the lake than what it is on Eastern Lake. Like you guys are talking about planting it right there, right on, like basically destroying the whole dune to be able to put a bathroom in there. The other biggest concern I have is if that were to happen, that's a natural storm barrier, and there's a lot of water that flows through that outfall into the lake. And the lake is very, a lot of movement and stuff. So that dune on both sides there is super important for like additional erosion not happening. I know I'm at 3 minutes, but anyways, I oppose it, but I also think we can find solutions outside of that initial area that can maybe benefit the long-term county. Thank you.
Two things, or one really. I know what you guys had in mind. I'm curious, the most beautiful part of the dune, of the structure right there, is that place where is the big dune right at the lake. And I know this is crazy because you guys wanted to develop it. I'm curious if anybody, I would like to see them preserve it, and I'd like to see the county spend money and buy that property and leave it alone. I don't know what you're hearing. I know you think it's crazy and that's not in your thing, but you've heard these people speak. It is beautiful, natural. Would anybody else like them to spend, you guys we have rental property, you're using all that money. I'd love to see it spent on doing nothing and buying that property. I am curious, I'll just go out on a limb. Anybody else that thinks that's a good idea to buy that piece of property there for the county to spend their money on that and leave it? And okay. It's the one right under the P. It's that point that it's not in the red space. It's here. It's right under the letter P. It's that whole lot from the. I don't know a good way to describe it, but that side. It's the biggest dune. It's the biggest part of the dune. Just throw that out there and preserve the place. So my summary: if you go to SaveEasternLake.com. There's a beautiful video that shows why it should never, there's all the storms and everything. It also shows the history, and this is all we have left, and that's the point. SaveEasternLake.com. Let's preserve it, and maybe consider preserving it. Maybe that's the takeaway from this, and actually do more to preserve it, hopefully.
Hi, I'm Chuck Cowan, C-O-W-A-N. We own two houses. One is on Eastern Lake. It's the old Victorian. It's at the end of South Lake Road. We also own the house that is right at the bend where Eastern Lake Road makes a hairpin turn, comes back. There's a tall house right there in the corner. That's us. That's where we live. I have a couple of issues that I'd like to raise that we obtained by watching a lot of the past meetings like this, watching a lot of the commission meetings, and then finally reading reports that are on the county website. And I would recommend to beach operations that there's a lot of material in those reports that you may want to take a look at. Regional beach access would move the county from operational failure to operational negligence. What this means is that it puts the county and the county commissioners at risk for litigation. When the Eastern Lake parking lot was approved, it was represented to the residents as a safety and congestion relief project. Mr. Kellenberger and Commissioner Glidewell spoke to this objective on the Walton County Tourism website. It's still there. And the safety hazard represented at the blind curve at the beach access, which is on Eastern Lake and is the little hook at the end of the picture above there. Parking lot is an operational failure and has failed to make the blind curve at the beach access safer. So it's failed to meet its objectives. Cars and golf carts park in the middle of the street, right there in front of the beach access, on private property, and in residents' driveways. Now, I can speak to that because our driveway is one of those that's continuously occupied by people dropping people off and then going back to park, as opposed to using the parking lot first. Walton County can't prevent any of this without a security guard stationed or multiple security guards stationed to keep people from parking along that hairpin turn. County's aware of this. The county knows or should know that the parking lot has exacerbated the safety hazard rather than alleviating it. It would now be operational negligence to increase a known hazard further. A second issue came from reading through the reports and talking to the police, the fire marshal, and so on. A regional access would create a crime magnet in a residential neighborhood. Turtle lighting is what's required for a dark zone in the area and put residents at risk of various types of criminal activity such as theft, assault, and drug dealing. The recommendation for a bathroom and for a regional beach access is high-density lighting. This, again, is on the Walton County website. So on the one hand, we have the turtles who demand low lighting. On the other hand, we have the sheriff who wants to have high-density lighting. And there is nothing in your presentation that talks about what it is you're going to discuss with the sheriff or how you're going to resolve this issue. So why you're thinking about spending any money rather than thinking about how to resolve these issues is beyond me. Because spending money on a plan that ultimately puts people at risk and the sheriff and the fire department are going to be against it doesn't seem like a good plan. Since you don't have something on your presentation, you don't have anybody from the fire department, you don't have anybody from the sheriff's department here, it seems like you've missed a large portion of the group that you should be dealing with as other stakeholders. Finally, I would say that the presentation that you made this evening misrepresents one key aspect that Mr. Kellenberger has spoken about repeatedly. And you can find him in different meetings and in the writings that are on the website saying that there's no way that the state environmental agency is going to approve a walkover. And he's told us repeatedly in Eastern Lake that he can't do a thing about the walkover that goes into the outflow because the state prohibits that. So in your presentation, you made it seem like it's a slam dunk to get all these approvals. Well, that's because you skipped over the most important approvals from the state having to do with the dunes, which Walton County does not control. So the idea of having this magic solution without thinking about what it is that you're going to have to get from the state is another problem. So thank you very much for listening to me. And I know you'd like this, but I have a higher authority.
Those are all great points, and I appreciate your feedback, and just want to emphasize that all those considerations will be looked at during the property analysis and the environmental analysis portion of the conceptual design development plan. So we just haven't, we don't have a designer on task order to look at those things, but those are certainly things that we'd look into. Thank you.
My name's Adrienne Cowan. I live at the house that's directly next to the parcel that is being discussed. Does that help? Okay. So I own that beachfront property that Chuck, so we live together. At any rate, first of all, I want to make sure that you understand that I agree with everything that the neighbors have previously cited as reasons to reject this project and reject any building at Eastern Lake. But I want to expand it a little bit into some issues related to the access and related to the ownership in that area. So first of all, we object to this because first, the southern portion of Eastern Lake Road is private. It's not owned by the county. And so in order for any kind of development to go on, there would have to be, something really strange would have to happen because the original intent of the easement would have to be maintained. The original footprint of the easement would have to be maintained. So I question whether or not the public has a right to traverse this private property, but even if they did in the past, that any future development of the site would change that ability. So assuming the county relies on an easement, the proposed regional access results in an overburden of any purported easement the county claims to have. Secondly, it's changing. Having a regional beach access would absolutely change the nature of that neighborhood. So the failure to preserve the residential nature of the neighborhood and instead convert it into a high-density traffic commercial hub is problematic. It's directly contrary to what was actually discussed with residents when the Eastern Lake parking lot was being proposed. And so this new proposal for a new development, it will dramatically change the nature of Eastern Lake neighborhood, which is in direct conflict with the county's comprehensive plan. And finally, there are development restrictions within the coastal dune protection zone that we all know. And so it appears from the half plans, or whatever they're called, that they are ignoring the 100-foot setback, or that they're ignoring the 50-foot vegetation cushions that are around. And so it seems to me that even if you try and keep the cushion for the 50-foot vegetation, that there would be so much erosion due to the foot traffic that would be increased there that it would actually erode that 50-foot, vegetation cushion. And so, in summary, I just want to state that in considering the approval for any further fund expenditures on this project, that the county understands they don't own the southern portion of Eastern Lake Road. They understand the project will destroy the residential character of the neighborhood and exacerbate the increased traffic and congestion already created by the parking lot. I can't tell you the number of times I've not been able to get out of my house because people have left their cars in my driveway. The county is in danger, finally, of destroying a fragile ecosystem that can't be replaced if it proceeds with this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ann Clifford, and I'm a 30-year resident of the Eastern Lake neighborhood. Can you hear me? Okay. A 30-year resident of the Eastern Lake neighborhood. This beach access serves over 1,200 addresses. We don't need more people coming here. What the county did when they purchased this property was mitigation expense. They spent the money to prevent something from happening. And what they prevented was somebody claiming that 2 acres of beach is private. Without that beach, the 1,200 addresses would have nowhere to go. They would have had about a 50 by, oh, sorry, I just realized I wasn't talking to that, a 50 by 150 portion of beach to use. So the county has done what they needed to do. What they need to do now is stand by their motto, pride, preservation, and conservation, and protect that beach. Our coastal dune lakes are precious, they're rare, and if you go back to the original opening picture on your slideshow, can we do that?
Sure.
I look at that, and that is what we want. We don't want anything there. We don't want bathrooms. We don't want a parking lot. Those 1,200 homes or addresses in that neighborhood, it already serves its purpose. And I just wonder, has anybody from the county even been down there on a summer day? Because it is joyous, it's beautiful, there are no vendors, nobody's fighting for spots on the beach. It's just people down there enjoying the beach and having a good time. We don't need it, we don't want it. It's always been a neighborhood access, and that's the way it should be. So thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Lynn Nesmith. I'm a resident for 26 years at Eastern Lake. It's access I use. if you're determined to spend some money, you could do a sidewalk on the section of Eastern Lake Road north of the turn where they're talking about. It could go from the parking lot to 30A. That's a dangerous stretch. I think if you want to spend the money, the neighbors would probably agree that a sidewalk between 30A to those parallel spots along Eastern Lake Road would not be a bad idea. But no parking lot, no more parking lots, no bathrooms, nothing to those dunes. The most important thing I think in this room is an agreement is that dune that we just saw the picture of at San Roy cannot be bulldozed for some porta potties or permanent bathrooms or parking. And it would be, you're disregarding the 100-foot setback, and a turnaround there would just increase traffic, increase possible dangers, and I just can't see how you can do what you're thinking about doing. But you could do a sidewalk on Eastern Lake Road, on the north section.
Can we get a show of hands who's in favor of sidewalk
Well, where, depending on where, don't just say sidewalks.
from 30A to the beach access on Eastern Lake Drive and San Roy Road?
Not San Road, just Eastern Lake,
Just
from
Eastern
30A.
Lake, 30A to the beach
30A dead,
access?
at the curve, to the parking lot, to the parallel parking.
You had a couple in the back.
You were involved in that.
You had a couple in the back that had their hands up.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Penelope Murnane, M-U-R-N-A-N-E, and we live about 12 miles west of Eastern Lake, my husband and I, but I have been a property owner and a taxpayer in Walton County since 1981, when my family was tragically killed by a drunk driver when we were returning home from a vacation in the Florida Panhandle. So I've been a property owner for 45 years in Walton County and paying taxes. And I rode my bike to Eastern Lake a few weeks ago. It's about 12 miles. And I saw a bathroom access being built along 30A, about a mile and a half from San Roy. And I also know there's a boardwalk that is near there. And so also I was thinking the local businesses that have bathrooms may miss the business of people coming in to use the bathroom and maybe buy a soda or something. So it's going to hurt local businesses. But I don't live on Eastern Lake, but I cherish nature and beauty. And then it's amazing that it is still as natural as it is when we lived here in the 70s. My dad was a pilot in the Air Force stationed at Hurlburt Field and Eglin Air Force Base. And if, I don't know if any of you have seen the big high-rise near the Destin Bridge in Destin, but yeah, once it's gone, it's gone. And also, talking about buying a sand dune, the state of Florida just spent about $83 million to buy 4 acres of sand on Noriega Point to protect it. So I just wanted to say, please preserve it. I'm in favor of all the neighbors there. I don't live there, but I love riding my bike there and love seeing all the beauty and the nature there. So thank you very much.
It's me again, Jim Parker. I didn't want to have us walk over your question about the dune crossover. I'm trying to understand what that is, where you're talking about, and why we would need it. We currently have access. I walked down San Roy and walked onto the dune today, so you can get to this plot that we're looking at that way. You come down Eastern Lake, I've done that many times, you just wade right across there. If somebody's offended by having to wade to the beach, why the hell are they going to the beach?
Yeah.
It's that's the thing I don't get.
To speak to that, I think we would assess that walkover on the Eastern Lake side and, determine if it was, safe and if any improvements need to be made to it. But the dune walkover would primarily be on the San Roy side where there is no current existing dune walkover. That would be the new construction dune walkover.
There's no walkover, you just walk.
It's a standard feature at any asset that's owned and maintained by the TDC. We have dune walkovers and restrooms. It's just a standard
Does-
level of service that we
does the
provide at our
TDC own the
TDC
asset?
assets. Sure. Understand all your concerns. Sure, understand the concern.
There are none. There aren't any that are regional beach access.
We don't want to be the first. We got a guy here.
So we've got a couple more here.
Yeah, I'll be quick. My name's Tom Stipes. First of all, thank you for the forum. That's all we wanted. STIPES. Live on Eastern Lake, live on the lake, completely committed to everything that everyone has said here. Won't repeat all that. But hopefully your takeaway, and thank you again for the forum. Thank you for Commissioner Curry. And, you know, this is a serious subject. You're feeling the passion. It's centuries old. Everybody bought into it. That's why we're there. Preservation's critically important. We're conservationists at heart. We live it. We're happy that the tourists are coming. We're happy when they go home. But we don't need any more access. If you go in the summer, have you been over there in the summertime?
Yes, sir.
So you've seen, they don't have any trouble getting there. And so my question has been, anytime there's controversial policy that's proposed at any level of government, and that's what we're talking about here, the question is, what motivated you to consider doing something that had never been done? What has motivated you? Has it been bad RBA reviews? Has it been new homeowners that have built on Eastern Lake North up into those communities where the people that are coming saying, hey, we don't want to wade? Has there been a few of those? I mean, Melinda, I've been the water quality control testing specialist for the CBA for the last 40 years. I'm on the lake. We don't have any problem with human waste in Eastern Lake. They're finding the way to go to the restroom. So why are we even remotely considering it? I think, to speak for most people, we're shocked that it's gotten this far that you would consider putting something on the sand. I mean, how many, by show of hands, how many have you driven to Hots in Grayton in the last 4 or 5 days? Yeah, oh, sorry, in Grayton. Two of you? Tomorrow, if you can, drive over there. And it's blocked off for construction. You can't go left to Chiringo or the Red Bar, but you can look. So what you'll see when you get there, I was there this morning. What you'll see is that the turnaround has now been, it's ready for paving. You can see that formation. You can see all the construction work that's been done on the new structure, the community center. And you have taken steps in a big, broad area to improve and modernize the amenities to make that access more amenable and more modernized. And bravo for that. But to compare the space that we have to the south of San Roy and any of that corridor to what you've done in Grayton is impossible that we're even talking about it. So go drive over there tomorrow and look at that, and you'll see the left to right, east to west footprint that's required for that infrastructure to have been done. And then drive to the end of San Roy, and you'll be shocked. And now, you all know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but that would be a great exercise. And if you're trying to compare from the TDC's perspective or from the county's perspective, well, look, we own the land at Grayton, and thank you for doing that when you did it. And we own the land at Eastern Lake, and thank you for doing that. I was living here when all those conversations happened, and I don't recall anybody in those meetings. I remember when Commissioner Glidewell was the deciding consensus vote to push that through. That was my takeaway. I don't remember him saying, this will become a regional beach access. What I remember him saying, and I got the recording, I remember him saying, we're going to probably have to program this, but we're not going to do anything for a while. Well, that while is probably here. So my question has been in my mind, what is motivating you guys to even consider something that would be so environmentally shocking? This will make national news. It'll be an unfortunate move. And you've heard passion from people that have lived down here and have owned property for decades. And then you're hearing from some of us that are new. But we all care. We don't want any changes. I mean, my question, if you're looking for solutions, like Amanda was saying, you've identified a problem. And no one can argue with the fact that modernization of amenities for safety and improvement to protect the tourism revenues that were there, and hopefully we can remove the 21, 22, 23 bump. We're back to where it was prior to that, right? Those are your expectations. Those years are not coming back. So if you're down and you're saying we've got to do something to program the property that we own, can we not look at I mean, what happened, I think what my friend Jim didn't finish on was Walton Dunes, and I'm not wishing that these things happen there either. But I'm asking from a strategic perspective to anybody that knows the answer. You built a sidewalk from 30A all the way to the parking lot at Walton Dunes, right? That would be stage one. Stage one would be to build a parking lot, obtain that property and build it. Stage two, in thinking, would be to build a sidewalk to it. And we're glad you did. It's nice amenity. Live on it. Use that sidewalk every day. Third stage would be all the other amenities that you're talking about here. And I've seen on future plans at the end of commissioner meetings when Brian Kelleberger made his presentations, this is what's going to happen. This is a future plan at Walton Dunes. My question is, and again, I'm not hoping that anything like this happens there either from a conservation perspective, what happened to prevent those plans with all those parking spaces and the turnaround and then the walkover over at Walton Dunes for a much bigger, broader area? Why did that stop?
The answer to your question, I believe, was litigation. And as I understand, that litigation is now run its course. And so it too is in a very similar position that we are tonight. We'll eventually go back to the Board of County Commissioners for further direction. So I'm going to try to land this ship. I think I know where, we're all headed. I got you real quick, Jimbo. Hold on just a second, Jimbo. I'm going to hand him that. Let me get his comments and then I'll land the ship.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit different. I think I've been on Eastern Lake 43 years. Don't like speaking up here, but I feel like I have to. I think this is a waste of time because I remember probably between 98 and 2002, if we could go back to the red rectangle, Worth Williams hauled in all that sand, and if I remember correctly, he was ordered by the county and the state to remove that sand. So that is the outfall of Eastern Lake where you guys are talking about. So what I would like to see, like I said, of a 43-year resident, I would like to see you guys open the lake back the way it's supposed to be before the sand forced it to the west, and then the tourists don't have to walk through the water to get to the beach. It solves all the problems. So.
All right, so first of all, I want to thank each of you for coming here tonight and expressing your desire. It's certainly been well received and appreciated. I unfortunately don't have a lot of answers to your questions, but what I can say is beach operations, we've been tasked with making improvements to these parcels, providing proper facilities, whether that's a bathhouse, whether that's a dune walkover, or whether that's simply a place for people to safely get to that beach access in the form of parking, sidewalks, things of that nature. So as we sit here tonight, I think it's pretty clear based on the attendance and the attendees' response that, no development is really what the desire is. So, as we move forward with further conversations about that, feel free to reach back out to us if there's any information you would like to share. I know some of you have read statements tonight. If you would like to provide those as part of the record, we'll be glad to incorporate those in the packet that we are compiling. If not, we have our projects at wcfltourism.com where you can also send those comments. And then lastly, our comment cards, please take those with you. Think about it some more, and by all means, if you want to email those to us, we'll be glad to incorporate that into the record. Yep, so we don't have a date in mind yet. We still need to take this back, have some more conversations, but I would say in the next couple of months at the most, keep an eye on the agenda, and I believe we have a working email group where we can get this information out and let you know that that's going to be going on the BCC agenda. So, yeah. Yeah, so there's not a large corporation pushing this, and I think it goes back to what I said earlier. I think as a department tasked with improving these amenities and parcels, we have a bare minimum requirement that we must provide as far as accessibility is concerned. And so this is one of the only beach accesses that we have. I think Walton Dunes may be another exception of this, where we do not have a dune walkover. So FDEP is pretty particular on using dune walkovers. So at a minimum, we would want to provide the proper beach access in the form of a dune walkover, proper pedestrian facilities, whether they be down Eastern Lake Road or San Roy Road. So that is the intent, is to provide a bare minimum level of accessibility, best we can, similar to what we have here at this building. It is a public parcel. Therefore, I think it's important for us to look at these things and try to make it as accessible as we can within reason. The land development code is something that we'd certainly have to follow just like everyone else would. Not asking for any variances, certainly not asking for anyone to look the other way. We'll follow that land development code to the T. Same thing with the regulatory permits. There are a number of those entities involved in this. Wildlife lighting is certainly one of those. We've proven many times over how we can incorporate wildlife lighting into our regional beach accesses. There are high-intensity type lights that can be installed that do conform with the wildlife lighting ordinance. In fact, street lights are a good example of that. So in sum, we're tasked with providing proper facilities. That's what we're here to do tonight. And get this information from you all and bring that back to the Board of County Commissioners. Or ultimately, we'll make the decision to move this project forward or adjust accordingly. So that's all we have for you all tonight. Again, I appreciate your attendance. I think it was well received and well understood. So, sure. Hold on just a second. Let me get you the microphone.
Thank you. Mark Douglas. I was going to speak earlier, but a lot of my points were taken, so thank you for letting me do a brief question after your post-comment there. At the beginning of the speech, you mentioned that you would bring back the comments, the overall vote of the people here back to the BCC, but just now you just mentioned that at a minimum you do intend to do XXX. So which is it?
Yeah, so we don't do anything unless the Board of County Commissioners authorize us to do that. So at the meeting that we bring this information to the Board of County Commissioners, we will then bring a request as to how to proceed with this parcel or not.
Okay.
All right, one last question.
Paul Dodson, 91 North Gulf Drive. So we've been able to manage this situation, the people that live around here, that vacation here, and their families vacation here for decades with no problem. So why do you want to change it now? Is it monetary? What is the reason? It's working fine like it is. There's nothing wrong with the primitive site to go to the beach. A lot of people enjoy walking through the water, going to the beach. It's an experience. Why take away something that's been here for decades and remove it forever?
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to go ahead and conclude this. Again, you can reach out to us at projects@wcfltourism.com. I'll be hanging out here after the meeting. If you have questions that you didn't think about or simply just didn't have time tonight, I'll be glad to field those here off the